Hi, this is Copyright and Fair Use Guidelines for Teachers presented by Laura Graves. Many teachers think that fair use for education means that they can use however much they want of anything they want, however they want. That's not true. There are guidelines that educators have to follow when using copyrighted materials for instruction. You can decide if you're using copyrighted materials under fair use rights by asking 3 questions. What is your purpose? What is the nature of the work? And what is the effect on the market? So what is your purpose? If you're using the work for instruction, that's fair use. If you're using the work for entertainment purposes or as a reward for good students, that's copyright infringement, unless you have contacted the copyright owner and gained permission to use the work. What is the nature of the work? Is it a commercial work? That's fair use. Is the work meant to be sold to schools? Fair use does not apply. That includes tests, worksheets, and Scantrons. It's so easy to find educational worksheets and handouts online. You should always be sure to find the source of those worksheets or handouts, and be sure you have permission to use them. Many copyright holders who intend their works to be freely used will indicate that somewhere on the website where the works are found. What is the effect on the market? Again, if the work is meant to be sold to schools or to educators, you should purchase it. Even if you're only using part of the work, you should purchase it. Always ask yourself if your use of the work will negatively affect the copyright holder. In most cases, using work for educational purposes will not negatively affect the market. You should also consider your acquisition of the work. If you're using a bootlegged version of a video, that's a negative effect on the market. I would also be careful about videos found on YouTube. Many videos on YouTube have been posted there without the copyright holder's permission and are there illegally. A material must be legally and legitimately acquired to be considered fair use. There are some quick, easy to remember guidelines that you can use. Most of the time, following these will keep you in fair use territory. A good rule of thumb to use is 10% of a work. There are rare cases where 10% of a work is too much, specifically for very long works, but usually using 10% will ensure fair use. The use must be due to your own inspiration. For instance, your administrator cannot state that all teachers must use a certain image for their lessons on Black History Month. You must have the inspiration to use the works yourself. Provide the copyright information. This is simply good practice. Never use a source, work, or part of a work without citing the creator or copyright holder. Not only is this the legally responsible thing to do, it will also help you find those works and sources again when you need them in the future. For more information and specifics on the information presented in the next slide, go to halldavidson.net. He has created charts that outline different mediums of works and guidelines for how to legally use them in the classroom. If you're an employee at Gwynn Elementary School, the chart is attached to your email in PDF form. So how can you use works in the classroom, and what are the limitations? You can make copies of short printed works or excerpts of longer works for classroom use, but there are limitations to how many copies you can make and how many times you can do this in a term. Both you and your students can incorporate text into multimedia projects. You can use images and illustrations, but there are limitations to how many images per artist or photographer, or how many images per collection. You can show videos to your students, as long as the use is instructional, not for entertainment. Your students may use portions of a video in multimedia projects. The rule with videos is 10% or 3 minutes, whichever is less. Always include copyright information when using videos in a multimedia project. You and your students can incorporate music into multimedia projects, and the rule with music is 10% or 30 seconds. You can show broadcasts or recordings of broadcasts, such as those on PBS and local stations, during your instruction time. Recordings of broadcasts may be held for 10 school days, but many broadcasts can later be purchased by the school for continuous use. Cable and satellite programs may only be used with permission. For more information on using cable and satellite programs in the classroom, visit ciconline.org. So how can you use things from the internet? Images can be downloaded and used for lessons and multimedia projects. Sound files and videos can be downloaded and used for projects, but the limitations stated earlier about videos and music also apply here. Links to resources can be used and reposted to the web. Multimedia projects using works downloaded from the internet may not be reposted to the internet unless you have permission from the copyright holder and there are clear citations. If you or your students want to share your lessons or project online, there are works you can use that do not require you to personally ask for permission. Some works may be in the public domain. If they were published before 1923 or were published without a copyright notice before 1977, they are considered public domain. Some works may be under a Creative Commons license. Creative Commons is a type of license that allows the copyright holders to give certain permissions to everyone. There are 6 licenses, all ranging in restriction. All Creative Commons licenses require attribution. You must give credit to the creator. It's usually best to link to the original work and to the license. Share alike means you can post your project or lesson with a work as long as you apply the same license to your project or lesson. So if the work has an attribution share alike license, you must also use that license. No derivatives means you cannot change, tweak, or use part of the work. If you have done any of these things to work under this license in your project or lessons, you cannot post it to the internet. There is also a non-commercial element. Copyright holders may apply to their license, but this obviously does not apply to educational use. For more information on Creative Commons, visit creativecommons.org. They have many helpful videos and a search feature that allows you to search certain websites for only the works that have Creative Commons licensing. Getting sued for copyright infringement in your classroom isn't very likely. It happens occasionally, but not very often. So why is it so important to follow fair use guidelines? Your students are growing up in a digital age when accessing and sharing are easy. The younger they learn how to cite and use digital sources, the more successful they will be in the future. Seeing a teacher model using materials responsibly will only reinforce that knowledge.